Good evening, everybody. Right, so welcome to you all. So we've got 40 people live on this call already, which is absolutely fantastic. And I've just been having a look in the chat, and we have people joining us from literally all over the world, which is absolutely the incredible thing about these live streams. This is the first live stream I've done like properly live on YouTube. Live to kind of many people. I do quite a lot of live streams as part of my small group sessions and stuff. So this is absolutely awesome to be doing one absolutely live on YouTube with some new people here that I don't know. So thank you everybody for getting involved and joining us. It's evening here in the UK. I know we've got a few people coming in, and it must be early in the day for you guys, or really actually in the middle of the night for you guys down in Australia. So that's absolutely fantastic. So please, I want to make this session as interactive as possible. So do let me know if you can, first of all, is everything happening okay? Can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? I'm not jumping around all over the place. YouTube is telling me that the stream is good, but I don't really do that all that often. So on YouTube, so I'm not actually 100% sure. So do let me know if you can hear me okay. Do say hello in the broadcast, in the comments. Okay, we've got Miguel joining us from Portugal. Good evening. Elaine is joining us. Hello from Laurel Highlands of southwestern Pennsylvania. Sounds awesome. Haha. Singing Unbound, I don't know your real name, you're joining us from Leicester, and that is pretty cool because my guest tonight, Anna Symonds, and I used to go to Leicester University together, and that is where we met. So that's kind of fun that you're on from Leicester, so that's really, really cool. So what's tonight about? Tonight is all about uncertainty. Okay, yes, we are dealing with a huge amount of uncertainty in the world at the moment. These are definitely the most uncertain times I can ever remember. So I'm experiencing uncertainty about whether the technical side of things is going to work tonight. I'm also a little bit uncertain about when to get my haircut, when I'm going to get my haircut next. And of course I'm joking, but in all seriousness, a lot of people, my barber, for instance, must be probably worried about when he's going to be open. Lots of small business people worried, are they going to have a business to go back to when this is all over? Are they going to be able to pay their employees? There's a huge number of people. I think the stats out today saying there's 20 million unemployed people, newly unemployed people in the US alone. There's young people who have had their exams cancelled and don't know whether they're going to be able to go off to university and college, or whether the universities and college are even going to be open in September when they were due to open again. And of course, we are all very worried about not only our own health, but our health of our friends and our families. And we're all very uncertain about how this is all going to end. We just seem to be in the middle of this, and we don't really know where we're going. So that's what we're talking about tonight, and that's why I wanted to invite Anna, who is a consultant clinical psychologist, on to the call tonight. But really, instead of me telling you about Anna, probably best if I just let her tell you a little bit about herself. Good evening, Anna. How are you?
Dan, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Slightly nervous about all the technical side of live streaming, but I think we're working so far. So do let me know if everybody is hearing everything okay. Let me know in the comments if there is any issues down there, okay? But I'm just going to assume things are absolutely fine. Anna, tell us about yourself.
Okay, so as you said, I'm a consultant clinical psychologist. I'm director of a company called Elysian Psychology. So we're a team of psychologists based in Nottinghamshire, and we support people through psychological therapy, including children, young people, adolescents, adults and older adults. My specialty is particularly kind of young people, but I do work with adults as well. And it's a busy time for us because there's a lot of people struggling. As you said, there's a lot going on in the world and people are finding things very difficult at the moment. So we're also offering online video therapy sessions as well. So I would encourage people not to struggle alone, whether it's me or it's somebody else. Please do seek out some support. You won't be alone in doing that over the last few weeks, I promise.
Excellent. Okie dokie. Right. Okay. Fine. So, I mean, we're talking about uncertainty, and this is really interesting. And guys, this is why your comments are so important, because Robert has already touched on a point that I wanted to actually bring up. Okay. Robert says, "Is anyone certain about anything, including what is going to happen in the next 5 minutes?" And I think, Robert, you're absolutely right. We all tolerate a level of uncertainty in our lives on a day-to-day basis. Are we going to get stuck in traffic on the way to work? Or more extreme thing, are we going to have a car crash on the way to work? Or any of these kind of things. There is uncertainty in day-to-day life. But why is everything changing at the moment? What makes uncertainty go to a level where we can't tolerate it anymore and makes us struggle?
I think it's Robert's point is absolutely valid. We'll come back to that in a second. What makes it intolerable, I think, is when we have lots of different levels of uncertainty. So most of us, as you say, can manage with a degree of uncertainty. So am I going to make it to work or not? Depending on our characteristics, some people, because this is all about individual difference, isn't it? Some people can manage and tolerate uncertainty more than others. Some people, by their very character, are risk takers, and some people aren't. So some people can tolerate a degree of certainty better than others naturally. I think it's when lots of things become uncertain that we struggle. So perhaps we can cope with one or two things we're not sure of, but at the moment, there has been a huge loss of the sense of our safety of the world. Actually, I was doing a video on grief, and actually there's a lot of us kind of grieving at the moment, and that grief is anticipatory in terms of, I don't know what my future is going to look like. It's kind of grief in the present moment of kind of, I don't know, the world feels very strange to me. And I think we've lost the safety of the sense of the world. So most of us, hopefully, if we're securely attached in our what we call internal working models, our internal kind of psychological kind of way of understanding the world, would feel that the world is safe. And actually, that's kind of been taken from us, hasn't it? We even if we think, okay, my job might not be secure, or this might be happening, as long as the base bit of our security is there, most of us can still function. So if you think about how important those base foundation levels are in feeling safe, a lot of those have been taken away from us. So, if you think about Maslow's hierarchical pyramid of needs, which begins with sort of a lot of base, I need to be physically safe.
Which, Anna, I have, because we talked about this before, as if by magic. We have Maslow's hierarchy of needs up on the screen. Okay, so just introduce people to what this is.
Yes. So basically, this is a psychologist for Maslow. I think it's not a recent thing. I want to say 1930s, could be wrong, 1936. Don't know.
It's a long while ago.
Yeah. But basically, you can see how we have this pyramid here, and really, it's about self-actualizing. Now, not all of us, but a lot of us are trying to be, do a lot of growth, and self-actualization is really about being the best possible person you can be. If that's one of your aims, you want to improve yourself. So there's lots of these different layers you can see, and the base ones are obviously really these basic ones for survival, and safety being the next one up. So that's safety of like the body. You can see work. It's the safety of the world essentially. So really, if we're trying to do the top one, the self-actualization, if the bottom ones are pulled out from under us, you can see how it's all going to collapse, aren't you? Now, these they don't have to be graded and that you go at one by one. You can move around flexibly within the different kind of stages. But a lot of us, like I say, have lost that sense of the world feeling safe. And so we're unable to tolerate other things normally would be able to tolerate. So our tolerance of managing uncertainty actually might have lessened because we've lost these bottom two layers which is essentially like our foundation of functioning, I would guess.
And I think Maslow when he kind of did that. I mean, bear in mind that was just theory; it wasn't anything particularly scientifically proven. What he was trying to say was that this was a pyramid. If you didn't have the bottom ones, it was difficult to actually focus on the ones that were actually higher up. So if I put that back up, if you can't focus on the very, very basics, if you can't get sleep, you are going to be obsessed about sleep, and you're not going to be able to think about anything beyond sleep. A very, very simple example: food, water, breathing. They become obsessive. But it seems like we've been really driven down into this level 2, the safety level. So when we're trying to do all these kind of higher functioning things in life, the general day-to-day living, we have been absolutely knocked back down to this safety level where our employment, our resources, because we can't even necessarily go to the shop and buy what we'd usually expect to, our health, our property, our businesses, our general life has been completely knocked down. So I think, bringing in Maslow's was really, really interesting, Anna.
And you can see how that it's very then difficult to even enjoy other things in life that are going on. A lot of your viewers might be thinking, well, I used to enjoy, I don't know, reading or pushed it myself to learn something. And actually some of that enjoyment might have gone. And the reason being is that, maybe perhaps some of us feel a bit low and a bit fed up, which is understandable as well. But also if you think of that model that we just looked at, the brain's kind of on a bit of a survival mode, isn't it, really? And we're still adapting as well. We're very quickly having to adapt to things. And so there's no certainty because we haven't fully adapted, because we don't know what we're adapting to or how long we're adapting for. So that makes it very difficult to kind of get our heads around and feel that our roots are down and we're grounded.
Absolutely, and the only thing that's certain at the moment is uncertainty, really, isn't it? I mean, we've just in the UK, for those of you around the world, we have been just extended our lockdown period for another 3 weeks. We've just been told that. So at least we know where we are for another 3 weeks, and it's for the most part of it's going to be at home, as was expected, really. So I mean, how do we emotionally respond to this uncertainty? How does it manifest, particularly on a day-to-day basis, and also in a pathological way, in terms of mental illness and stuff, if you like?
Yeah, I mean, we're all going to adapt differently, aren't we? If you've got a history of previous mental health issues, then perhaps this might be more challenging. I think it's important to just say as well that if you are watching this and, you're feeling anxious or you're feeling low, those things are kind of normal responses to something that you're adapting to. So please don't worry that you've got some mental health issue. If you're concerned, obviously go and talk to your GP or somebody like us. But actually a normal level of anxiety and a normal emotional response is typical to something like this. It might manifest itself in big things like that, like anxiety. I'm getting a lot more work for people who are panicking. So when you're talking earlier about overwhelm, that it's just too much. Everything's just too much, and it mounts up, and the body kind of panics in response to that. So it may be as extreme as that. For some people, it might be manifesting in just trying to, when we feel out of control, it's quite a human response to want to be in control. We do the opposite of these reciprocal roles, as we call them. And you might find that you're trying to micromanage yourself or the people that you live with. You might be getting very stressed about the small things that aren't quite as you would like them. That might be one way that it manifests. Another might be that you're seeking lots of reassurance from people. We all need reassurance. It's quite a human trait. That's okay. But if you're overly needing reassurance when perhaps you didn't need that before, that might be a sign that you're struggling with this a little bit. And irritability, of course. I mean, it's very intense, isn't it? Being with our families and our children and our partners all of the time. So if you're finding yourself more irritable, just have a little think, okay, is it that I'm really struggling with this? I'm struggling with this uncertainty. I mean, I think BBC News were commenting on an article from The Lancet, which is a psychiatry sort of journal, today or yesterday, and they were saying they predict lots of mental health issues after this. But I think if you're mindful, and for example, everyone watching this, you're obviously aware that your emotional health is really important. So being aware of it, keeping a check on those thoughts, if any of those things that I just said to you ring any bells, just be mindful of them. Just keep your eye on them. They might not become any bigger. They may dim down a little bit. Just being really aware of how you're feeling and responding to this situation is really significant in maintaining good emotional health at the moment.
Okey-dokey. So I think we are got a bit of a special group of people here, as people who tend to watch videos on YouTube about things like this. You guys are already in a very small minority of people who are probably educated about your own mental health and caring about your own well-being and stuff like this. So recognition of these things that is going on is obviously an important first step. Where do we go from there, Anna, in terms of things?
So if you're kind of aware of how you're feeling, my sort of go-to therapy is what we call cognitive behavioural therapy, and it's very much about awareness of your thoughts and being able to change your thoughts, sort of consciously choosing different thoughts, because your thoughts, for every feeling you have, there's a thought first, a theory would say. I say it's theory, but it makes complete sense to me as well in terms of how I work. So it's about keeping an eye on those thoughts. Now, it's very easy for a lot of us to get into what we call cognitive distortions, which are technically kind of thinking errors, of things like, what we call crystal ball gazing. So looking forwards and kind of thinking, this is going to happen or that's going to happen, and trying to predict the future. We might get into things like catastrophizing. That's a thinking style as well, where, so all of a sudden Corona happens and you kind of think, well, I've lost my job. Well, actually, there's a lot of steps that might have to happen before you lose your job, but your thoughts kind of project you right out forwards, and like a fishing reel, you've got to be very consciously reeling those back in. So awareness of those thoughts is important. Obviously, ruminating, we have a lot more time now, don't we, as well? Some of us, you and I are both busier, but some people have more. Some people have more time, and so they have it. So when the mind is empty, the thoughts can just come in. When your mind is busy, the thoughts can't get in so well. So you might find that you're ruminating. And again, ruminating is quite a normal response to this, because really when we worry, the brain thinks that worry is helpful. It thinks it's doing a good thing because it's trying to come up with solutions. But actually, solutions again might fall into the what if thinking, the kind of the projecting forwards thinking, because really we don't know the answers to those things. And if we're anxious, the brain is going to take us to places that could be quite unrealistic. But in the moment, like if you're not sleeping or those things are affected, those thoughts are going to be very believable and very real. And just be mindful that, we have something like 80,000 thoughts a day, and that's a thought every 1.2 kind of seconds. That's a lot of thoughts. I would say 95% of mine are rubbish. So don't go believing your thoughts. You've got a lot of time possibly, and you'll have lots of time to think. And I think just filtering out, okay, what's really happening in the moment. We'll come back to that in a minute. We're thinking about the present moment, but also, watching this projecting thinking, this what if thinking, this crystal ball thinking, this catastrophizing, just being really, really aware of it, and just reining your brain back in and having a little chat with yourself and going, okay, so I'm aware that my thoughts have gone a little bit askew with what is happening to me right now in this moment. Coming back to the present moment.
Okay, cool. So, just bring in a few comments and stuff. Robert's getting very deep on us here and says, oh, hang on, I need to move that out of the way. Perhaps the biggest belief that seems to prevail in the world is the belief that we have any control over our life. I think we do have some control over our life, but I see what you're getting at, Robert. Definitely, we might not have all the control that we think we do all the time, and things we take for granted on a day-to-day basis. Certainly, Banjo. This is Ange, my friend Ange. Ange says, so what do we do if those emotions aren't kept in check and manifest? Okay, so I think that's the next step on from where we go.
And I think it's about, so if your emotions aren't kept in check and they just become overwhelming, and you do end up in panic or low mood or whatever, I think there's something about letting yourself sit with the feeling. So although I'm being very proactive and saying, get the thought, how can you think about it differently and that sort of thing, I'm aware that sometimes what we have to do is just allow the thought to come in. And the feelings, to come in. As feelings are like waves, they come up and they come down. And sometimes we have to be a little person on a surfboard and kind of ride that wave up and down. So if those feelings are manifesting, I would sit with them. I would let them in. Now, emotional pain is difficult. It hurts, doesn't it? And if we're feeling very anxious or very worried, or if some of those bad things are actually happening, you worry about a family member being ill and they are ill, or you've lost somebody, sadly, you're going to have to sit with the pain of those feelings. No changing that thought is going to make that significantly different. But when you sit with a feeling, they say you only need to sit with the feeling for like about 90 seconds, but really sitting with it for 90 seconds does a natural kind of pushing on. And actually, when you make yourself think about something, you actually find the brain distracts itself quite nicely after a while, So never say to yourself, I'm not thinking about that thing. If I say to you, don't think about pink elephants for a minute, you're probably all thinking about pink elephants already, aren't you?
Don't say things like that. We're doing a live broadcast. And I haven't got any pink elephant graphics ready. Okay. But no, you're right. I mean, meditation isn't something that I've hugely been, massively effective with in terms of implementing that in my life. However, I definitely see this idea of, even when you're trying to concentrate on nothing or try and concentrate on a thought, your mind definitely runs away from you. And so I see what you get. I see where you're going with that one. Definitely.
Yeah, no, it's definitely hard. But I think if those things are manifesting and they're coming true, just sitting with the discomfort of it, just sitting with the pain, either on your own or somebody else, and just feeling it and kind of surrendering to it. Really, we get into lots of resistance, don't we, emotionally? I can't feel that. I don't want to feel this. But actually, when you avoid a feeling, it just becomes bigger and bigger, and it just becomes then something bigger that you have to manage. So my advice to that lady would be that you sit and you feel it and you feel the pain of it, and that will help shift it on. I think we should address Robert's point about almost.
Can I bring that back up on the
because
screen?
I think he's got a really good, valid point, and this was something that I've been thinking about. Perhaps the biggest belief that seems to prevail in the world is the belief that we have any control over our life. And Robert, I agree with you. I think it is, we're conditioned to believe that that we have control, and actually we're conditioned from quite a young age. So those of us that have children, I have 2 children, those of us, we've all been children, we're saying to our children, well, they're saying, well, what are we doing, and how are we, and what's happening this day and this time, and we go, oh, okay, well, at 3 o'clock you've got this, and then you're going to have this for lunch. And so we're all brought up with a sense of order. Or we like order and organization as human beings. I think we like the structure of that. So I think we've just been conditioned all of our lives to think that there is some sense of somebody has control, or there is some sense of control and order. And actually, events like this make us reevaluate that, because we then kind of go, but maybe there isn't. Like, maybe there is no order. Maybe nobody's holding it together. And again, on your hierarchical kind of Maslow's model, that would pull the rug out of us under that. And I think we need the belief sometimes that we are in control. And I think if you feel out of control, it's important to think about the things that you do have control over, which is things like you're choosing to watch this. I chose to have a coffee before, when we were just chatting before, just things like that. We're making choices.
Decaf, of course, because it is the evening.
Yeah,
and by the way, for those of you in the UK, we're going to make sure we finish this call well before 8 o'clock, because that is the time when we in the UK are doing the clap for carers thing over here. Okay, so don't worry about that. We'll be well wrapped up before then, I guarantee it. So I'm going to go
bang some saucepans on the
saucepans, air horn, wake the neighbours up if they're already in bed. So yeah. Okay, sorry. Anne says acceptance is a useful strategy. Thank you. I've got a couple of other questions that have come on. I just want to kind of acknowledge these and say thank you before we kind of move on. So we have had one which is really, really interesting. It's not something I'd thought about. I worry about vaccinations being forced upon us. After all, who knows what's in them? And I worry what the long-term effects of that are. I'd like to come back to that one a little bit later on if we can. Nick also says something that is very powerful for me, as I tell myself that whatever life throws at me, I'm going to find it in myself to overcome.
Oh, I love that, Nick. I love that, because we have all faced difficult times before, haven't we? We face uncertainty all the time. You're driving the car and you don't know that car in front is going to stop at the traffic lights. That's a little bit of uncertainty. We probably all face big uncertainties, like Dan, you were saying about how it's difficult for students who might not know if they're going to get those A-level grades and go to university. But even when we got our A-level grades, we didn't know what university we were going to go to. We didn't know we'd end up at Leicester, did we? So, no. It's sort of we deal with uncertainty all the time, and we always have done. And most of us, now we're adults, have always dealt with hard things. If you've cared for anybody that's been unwell, or if you've raised children, I mean, they're unpredictable emotionally, practically, so actually we deal with uncertainty all the time. I think we just forget how much we can tolerate it, because it's something that we do on a daily basis, I would say.
So do you think it's more about fighting and managing this kind of situation in uncertainty, or in terms of managing it and accepting it and tolerating it, increasing our tolerance to it?
Yeah, I don't think it's about resisting, because I think resistance psychologically is very difficult. So if we think it's like this, and I want it to be like this, we get this great big emotional gap, and the friction between those two rubbing together is what causes us emotional and psychological kind of conflict. Really, that's what causes anxiety. So I would encourage everybody not to resist it, not to resist. It should be like this, or why can't I go and do this, or why it's not fair, and whatever, and it should be like this. I think a lot of this is acceptance. It's about kind of going, okay, it's okay that I feel this frustration. It's okay that I wish that life was different, because come on, we all do. No, none of us would have chosen this for anybody. But just accepting the resistance is there is acceptance in itself, isn't it? Kind of saying, okay, so that acceptance, that resistance is there. Acknowledge the resistance is there. Acknowledge how awful that feels for you. And again, sitting with that feeling for a little bit, we should kind of move it on a bit. And you might have to do that process a lot of times. Lots of people have had life-changing things happen, or their plans have gone out the window. It's okay to be cross about that. It really is. It's okay. So don't deny yourself that. Go with the feeling of, I am really annoyed that I can't have my wedding when I was supposed to, or I was supposed to go and fly over and see my family and wherever, and I can't. It's okay to be annoyed with that. But so just go with it, because that takes away the resistance. Then this kind of friction I was talking about. You just go, okay, it's like this, rather than it should be like this. Shoulda, woulda, couldas are not very helpful to us emotionally.
Okie dokie. So guys, I'm kind of coming to the end of the fixed questions that I really wanted to get in with Anna. So I do want you guys to get involved. If you've got any kind of psychological questions, we're not giving medical advice or direct psychological advice out here, but we're more happy to talk about things in general terms. And I think Dean's finding this useful. Dean says, thank you for this. I really, really appreciate you letting us know that. So yeah, we've got people in from all over the world at the moment. We've got Holland, we've got Pakistan, we've got Brazil. Nelson's down in Brazil. We've got Gillian in France. So this is really, really cool. I'm so glad to have you guys all here. We've got 50 people currently on the call at the moment. So thank you everybody for being here. So I want to go back to this. Please get any questions in, any thoughts, any psychological kind of stuff, anything you want to chat about, get those questions in. That's what we're here for, and to have it to extend this call as long as you guys need it, obviously within the time that we've said. So I worry about vaccinations being forced upon us. After all, who knows what's in them? What are the long-term effects of them? So if somebody was coming to you and was worried about this kind of thing, what would your thoughts be? I think the first thing I've learned from you is to acknowledge that that's an actual real thought and a genuine concern, and from my perspective, it's something that I worry about as well. In terms of the way things are going. Yes, there is going to be this big rush to find a vaccine, and there should be a big rush to find a vaccine, absolutely, because it's going to be one of the things that helps us get out of this mess. But I completely agree that, certainly with certain political influences, particularly in the world, who are not perhaps being as diligent and as thorough as you would hope they were, that there is this worry about rushing things through. So yeah, absolutely. I completely, from my perspective, I completely acknowledge what is going on there from yours. But yeah, how do you go about taking someone through that? It's a difficult situation, isn't it?
I think it is, and I think it's about trusting. Now, if we're a little bit more anxious than perhaps we'd normally be, so people might be experiencing anxiety that aren't particularly anxious people. If you are anxious, your anxiety might be kind of sky high at the moment. When a lot of anxiety is connected to responsibility, and when I like the definition of anxiety being it's when we rely on ourselves too much. And I think in this case, if somebody is saying to us, this vaccine is safe, and Dan, because you're a medical doctor, it would have gone through numerous trials, and human trials and various other things. I think it's about kind of trusting, and it's about letting the people that take responsibility take responsibility. So that's those people that are the drug manufacturers or the government, the people that are telling us to have it or whatever. And actually the responsibility isn't all on you to make that decision. A lot of us that are business owners or people that kind of take care of people, whether it's children or employees, whatever, we all feel more responsible at the moment of taking care of those people. And actually, I think bearing in mind the people that make these decisions will, you put the onus on them. don't take responsibility. It's not your decision to make, in a way. Like, people are saying to you, this is safe. It's normal to doubt it and question it, and perhaps we should look at the research and, make sure, do your research and feel comfortable and talk to people about it, obviously. But put the responsibility kind of on other people. Don't take it. If we're a bit more emotional or anxious, we're naturally more likely to pull in more responsibility than we need to take, I think.
Yeah, I think, the way I think about this in terms of where I'm, I think there will be a massive debate, within the scientific community, which will be within the media as well, because all of this kind of stuff will be in the media at the moment as well, about the safety of what we're doing before we roll out these massive vaccination programs. So, I do think you're going to get an opportunity. I think it's very valid to be kind of worrying about this, and I'm completely with you on that. But I also think, you're going to have an opportunity to make much more informed decision as well down the line about based on evidence. And I think we're gonna I'll certainly be looking forward to learning a lot more about how these trials are run, and what shortcuts are being taken, and are they taking them realistically safely, because I don't want that. I don't want a jab to cause any problems either. So, completely get. I mean, that's my very non-kind of psychological way of thinking about it, really, just from that.
Well, that's your doctor way, your medical way of looking at it, isn't it? Which is you want to know it's been diligently done and everything's kind of, all the boxes are ticked.
Yes, absolutely. Stephanie's here from Canada. Hi, Stephanie. Hi. We've got Susan here from Oregon. And Banjo, Angie's got another question. Angie says, I'm a head teacher. Advice generally on helping staff and well-being.
I think if you're the head teacher, you're the container, aren't you? Like I am for a lot of people that I work with. I have two different jobs, one at a university and one where I run my business. And I think we're the containers, aren't we? We're the people that hold people emotionally. I think it's important for you, first of all, to make sure you're held emotionally and there's people around you that you can talk to and that can support you. I think it is about reassuring people, isn't it? And telling people that they are supported. And, if you're in a position where you're still able to employ people, you're not furloughing people, probably, I can't remember where you're from, I'm sorry, over here, schools are still running for children and key workers.
Angie's here, yeah.
Oh, okay. So presumably your school's kind of operating. I think lots of reassurance, people and again, validate the feeling. It's okay that your staff feel anxious. They're working with people who are the children of people who are in contact with this virus. It's okay for them to be anxious. I think just have an open door and let them come and communicate that to you, and just hold that feeling. Just be like, yeah, I totally understand that you feel like this. And if you feel like that, share that with them as well. I think as containers, we have to be, I'm always honest with people I talk to about whether I share the same, I empathize with it. So yeah, I know how that feels. I understand why you would feel that way. So lots of empathy and understanding for them that they're in a really difficult, stressful position. And they're containing other people, aren't they? They're containing children. So they need you to be a container for them, but you need to be a container for somebody else. But I think letting them come to you, even letting them have slots where they can book in, check in with them as much as you can, just how are you, when people ask us how we are and they genuinely are interested, doesn't it mean the world, and just to have that opportunity to say, I'm finding this really hard, and you saying, I understand, I get that this is really hard, is there anything I can do to help? Asking people, how can I help, is hugely significant. So what can I do to help? Is there anything I can do to help and support you? Because I think we all need to feel supported, and we all need to feel as safe as we can, don't we? So it's important that those staff do get that message from you. You're supported, you're as safe as can be, I've got your back.
I think those words, how are you, have taken on, personally for me, it's taken on a huge amount more significance. That hi, how are you, even just with strangers in the street and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else has noticed that. Hopefully that helps, Ange. Do let us know what your thoughts are on that. Okay, got a few other comments. Gail says, Gail says, they say this pandemic has caused life to be worse than the Great Depression. Gail's in Alberta in Canada. Is that catastrophizing?
I wonder who says it.
Is that the media? Is that the media? What's the media's role in all this?
Yeah, and we were talking earlier, weren't we, on something else about how, to really be mindful of what you're consuming from a media perspective, because a lot of it kind of can be for headlines or drama and those clicks on the, onto the websites and things like that, which
Bad
is
news sells.
Yes, unfortunately it does. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to know the long-term impact, isn't it? Like I said earlier, that that article from the Lancet was kind of predicting lots of difficulties in mental health. It's difficult to know how we're going to, because we don't know how. Again, we've got a lot of uncertainty around the length of time and how it's going to impact us. I guess only time will tell. I am one for trying to keep, certainly personally myself, lots of thoughts of being positive and lots of thoughts of wellness. So really, it may be realistic or unrealistic, because maybe I will get coronavirus, but in my head, I'm just like, I'm doing everything that I can. So therefore my chances of getting it are low. So I'm kind of lots of thoughts of, but I'm well. I'm healthy, I am well. And I think it's very difficult when we start to extend our care out for the world. I remember you and I having a conversation, Dan, when this first started, and you mentioned something about the impact on Africa, and I started to feel really sad about that. And actually had to bring my this couple of weeks ago, but I had to bring my thoughts back to, okay, but my family and my world, and perhaps the people in my world and on the outskirts of my world are safe. And I think that might sound a bit selfish, but it's almost like that's all I can control. I can't control what's happening in Nigeria as much as I would like to have an influence. I can't. But there's things we can do. Obviously, we can donate to charities and all the rest of it. But ultimately, I think it's about kind of looking at the wider world can be quite difficult. I think reining it back in and looking at your world and thinking, well, is my world okay? I mentioned earlier about coming back to the present moment and check in with yourself. Am I okay right now? So those thoughts aren't going off. But are my family okay? If we check in with ourselves and we say, at any given moment, am I okay right now? Most of us would go, well, actually, yes, I'm a bit anxious, but actually I'm okay. I've got my roof over my head. I've got some food in the fridge. Really, when we come back to the present moment, most of us can say we're doing all right. So I think try not to let those thoughts come out into the wider world. We do need to care for the wider world. You can still do that, but if it becomes overwhelming, I'm saying, if it becomes too anxiety provoking, just focus your energy on what you can influence, change and control over.
And that being in the moment seems to be a very key thing, and we hear that in a lot of kind of different psychological theory and stuff, don't we? Susan says, I found that many musicians of the world are stepping up, and I am finding all kinds of YouTube videos with very inspirational music. For the moment, I can lose myself in the music and be inspired. And that's really interesting, Susan, because what you're saying there is I lose myself in the moment, which is exactly what we're talking about here. Vicky, my wife, some of you know that, some of you may have come from her posting about this, is a singer. She can't gig and sing at the moment. She's watching this at the moment, aren't you, Vicky? She can't sing and she can't gig at the moment. So every Wednesday night, this room transforms into her gig room, and she's been doing a live video. So yeah, there are people who are doing lots and lots of these live videos and stuff all around, and so yeah, it's really, really nice to be able to do it. It's also therapy for her to be able to do a little bit of what she likes to do.
And don't stop those things, adapt those things. And actually, when I do a lot of singing, and actually Dan and I, we first met over music, didn't we, actually? And I think it's a good distraction. These things are a really good distraction. We can get so caught up in our own heads. I mean, so keeping your mind outside externally rather than internally is hugely important. And if music helps your viewer to do that, I've seen so many things. I mean, Gareth Malone, I sing in a choir. Gareth Malone has done some kind of, you can sing with him. I've seen lots of people like the King Singers and people doing sing at home things. There's loads of things you can do. And I think coming out of your own head, almost making yourself do that sometimes is really therapeutic, just to change your thoughts and distract yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ange says there, thank you, very helpful, Dr. Anna. I run supervision often, so I'll get the next cycle underway.
And in fact, do it more. I mean, I think we think, I do lots of supervision as well. And I think, you kind of think, oh, well, things are up in the air at the moment, so we won't do it, we'll leave it. But actually, this is the thing that people need the most. And I certainly have my own supervision, actually, and because, and that's very useful. So I think put the cotton wool around people even more, put that safety and that security around them even more.
Yeah, Gail's says, I'm in quarantine until the 28th. My mum just came home from hospital. She is weak but home. That's absolutely fantastic, Gail. I've never felt prison before, but I don't like it. So you're feeling very imprisoned at the moment, Gail. And I think, first of all, we need to validate that feeling. Is that right, Anna?
Oh yeah, it's tough. I mean, that must be very difficult. And if your mum's not fully recovered, or she's, you say she's weak, then you're taking care of somebody, and that's very draining, and that's hard. And I wonder if anybody's taking care of you. So that's going to be very difficult, and it does feel, I think a lot of us feel very trapped. We also can feel quite anxious when we're trapped, can't we? One of the key things of anxiety is that people feel a sense of trappedness. And I think, although we're saying not to project forwards, I think one technique, I've been saying to clients, is to chunk time. So the 28th, I'm trying to think, what is it today? Is it about the 16th? You lose track of time.
Yeah, 16th, yeah.
16th. So just think, okay, well, I'll get through to the weekend, then I'll do the weekend, then I'll do another week, and then I've got the weekend or whatever the 20th takes you to, and kind of chunking the time, because we can alter our perception of how we view time when we need to speed it on or slow it down a little bit. So I'd encourage you to speed it on. I think actually the government probably might have known we'd be longer than 3 weeks and 4 weeks originally, but telling us that we were going to do it for 7 or 8 weeks would have made people more stressed. So actually they chunked it for us to make it seem more manageable. So if we think, okay, another 3 weeks, that probably feels more manageable than if we thought we've got 4 months ahead of us. So I imagine they'll continue to do that to manage our anxiety and to contain us as a container.
Okie dokie. So yeah, I think another thing to what I would like to say, Gail, I mean, just when you say you're not alone feeling like this, you really aren't. Like, I think we certainly know people who are caring for their elderly parents. They've moved out from their family home and they are living with their elderly parents, so that so they're away from their family, sometimes into very, very difficult situations where the elderly parents got very challenging behaviour. So yeah, you're not alone with this, Gail. I'm a big believer that carers need care too. Okay, and that people who are looking after people can be very, very isolating. I remember when my mum was looking after my very elderly grandmother, and it was a very, very difficult time for my mum. Hello, mum, if you're watching this. Very, very difficult time. Had a big emotional toll on her. I found it very difficult to get her to accept any support from outside organisations. But Gail, I don't know what things are like exactly where you are, but I know our communities are rallying together all over the world in putting things in place. Phone numbers. We did a flyer drop around our village with a local coronavirus kind of concern group in order to talk about this, to give people a phone number that they can call. And around our community, there are people manning phones. So if you do need to speak to somebody, just get out there and talk to them. Also, on a national level in the UK, there's an NHS project to do this. I don't know what's going on there in Canada, but please don't feel alone, Gail, okay?
Reach out, and don't lose yourself in the care. Do something for yourself, and even if it's really small, and you sit and have a coffee outside and in the sunshine, and you sit and you do that mindfully and you say, this is for me. It's a moment for you, isn't it?
Christian says, excellent, thank you so much. Hashtag think positive, hashtag stay safe, hashtag stay healthy. Fantastic. All the very best to both of you. Thanks for the positive, the encouragement.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. That's really cool. Elaine says, I'm finding it comforting just to be in a group of people from all over the world with common concerns. Isn't the internet kind of rather marvellous for that?
Oh, it is, because essentially, I know we talked about individual difference earlier, but we're all kind of one, aren't we, really? We all feel the same things and we all struggle with the same things, really. And I think we just need to feel that solidarity. To Gail earlier, kind of just hopefully that she's found that experience as well today, but also could search that out. Anybody else that's lonely. Yeah, we just need to feel that we're all going through a similar thing, because we might be feeling it to different degrees, but we're all, if we're honest, we're all finding it challenging, whether it's a little bit or a lot. It's difficult for all of us.
And Dean is following up on our kind of vaccine chat from earlier. Dean says, concerned that until a vaccine is available, which could be many months away, life won't get back to normal. Even with a gradual release of lockdown, people may be frightened to go out. I think this is again very, very valid, Dean. It's been in the news over here in the UK today that they don't think there will be full lifting of the restrictions until a vaccine has been widely rolled out.
Oh gosh, really? Is that what they're saying? Yeah. And I think, and again, when we're thinking about overwhelm, that's quite an overwhelming thought, isn't it? If you think I might not get out of the house for a long time, that's almost too much. I would almost take a day by day, or if it's bad, hour by hour approach to that, just take it every day as it comes kind of thing. And every day that we get through is another day closer to some sort of release date, I guess. And that's uncertainty in itself, because we don't know when things are going to change or be different. But I think we have to hold on to the fact that they will end. This isn't going to be our life forever. Any feeling, I was encouraging you to sit with feelings earlier, any feeling that you experience, it's not going to feel like that forever. Everything in life is temporary. And I think really reassure yourself with that. Although this is very difficult now, it won't last forever. It will end. So remind yourself of that when you're in the darkest kind of moments.
Yeah. Fantastic. Right. I think that's all the questions we've had up until this point. Christian says all the very best to Vicky and happy home gigging. I think a couple of Vicky's fans might be in tonight. Vicky is amazing escapism on a Wednesday night.
Oh, brilliant. I'll have to watch it. Can you join in?
No, it's cool. Oh, yeah, I think Vicky's got videos of people from home joining in, singing along with their kids and stuff like that. So, it's really, really cool. There's lots and lots of good stuff going on in these dark times. That is absolutely for sure. Right, Anna. So, I believe you've got a YouTube channel, haven't you?
I have, but I've got, yes. If you look for Dr. Anna Symonds, I'm there with some videos. I've filmed one on, I think there's one there about grief. There's one about how to talk to young people. There's one, I think it's over 10 minutes on just how to manage coronavirus. So if you look for me, Dr. Anna Symonds, Symonds,
in fact, if you have a link down below, I've already put a link down below in the description for this video. Okay, guys. So Anna is on very low. She's just starting out. So, and it happens to all of us when we're on YouTube. You have to get those first few subscribers in. So go and follow Anna
on YouTube. It's on my website as well. So if you Google me with the doctor in front, there's a page on the website that they're all on as well. If that's a bit easier for people.
Yeah, absolutely. But Anna's got some incredible knowledge, and you can see that some of you guys are seeing that already. So Gail says, thank you. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here, Gail. Guys, we're going to wrap this call up now, but please do subscribe to Anna's channel. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. This is standard YouTube finisher. You've got to say this at the end of all your YouTube videos. If you've liked this video, guys, give it a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments what your biggest takeaway has been from today's session. That's really, really important. We do look at all these comments and stuff. So and I'm sure Anna will be checking in, continue that conversation. We're definitely in this for another 3 weeks. If there's any particular topics you're interested in, maybe I could convince Anna back on at some point in the future.
Absolutely. I would love to come and talk to you.
So thank you ever so much, guys. We're going to go and blow some air horns.
I think that's just you.
I've got an applause and an air horn thing here on the. You can't hear them because you're coming through Skype, but yes, everybody at home can. Right, guys, I'm going to end the call there before I descend into ridiculous silliness. Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Anna Symonds. Do check out her YouTube channel, and I will see you very soon, Anna. Everybody, take care. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye, everyone.